I think the biggest thing is find your values, build your foundation on it, and don't waver. Even if people don't always agree with it, if it's what's most important to you and you're going to build a culture around that, you have to be consistent and you have to stay there. And do the things that, the things that are most important to you. You believe in them, stay with it. Sometimes you got to weather the storm, but there's nothing more important than being true to yourself.
Welcome back to Building a Champion, the podcast where we explore what it takes to build winning programs and lasting cultures in high school and college athletics. Today, we are heading to Northeast Iowa, home of the Waverly-Shell Rock GoHawks, one of the most respected and successful athletic departments in the state. Joining us today is the man who keeps it all running smoothly, Athletic Director Greg Bodensteiner. Greg, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Excited about the opportunity to share a little bit about Waverly-Shell Rock.
Across sports, the GoHawks are known for producing tough, disciplined, high-performing teams. It's on the wrestling mats, though, where Waverly-Shell Rock has built one of Iowa's most dominant dynasties. Got multiple state titles, more individual champions than any other program in recent decades. The GoHawk wrestling team has become synonymous with excellence. Tell us a little bit about the program's successes.
Yeah, I'm in my fourth year as athletic director, so it started long before I was a part of it. But I've been at Waverly-Shell Rock for the last 18, so I've gotten to see a lot of that in process. And when I came here, it was already started. And it comes back to coaches. It really truly does. It starts with a community, but it comes down to coaches and kids. And Rick Caldwell built an incredible foundation here, and then just continued on when Eric Whitcomb took over. On the boys' side, and Eric's done incredible things and won multiple state titles, lots of individual state champions. But the coolest part in the last several years has been to watch that spill over into girls wrestling. Waverly-Shell Rock hosted the first ever girls state wrestling championship that was hosted by the Iowa Wrestling Coaches and Officials Association. Hosted the first two. It's obviously grown. Now it's a sanctioned sport with the Girls Athletic Union. But the success has rolled over onto the girls' side and just continues there as well.
The pressure that comes with the legacy has to be real. How do these athletes and coaches continue to stay hungry and focused year after year?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is Eric is incredibly driven. He was also wrestled for Rick Caldwell. So he not only experienced that as coaching with him, but lived it as a kid, going through that program, gaining that experience. Our head girls wrestling coach, Josh Meyer, was on the boys' staff previously and still is. They kind of share things back and forth and are actively involved in each other's program. And then our community supports it at an incredible level. And I think, expectations are awesome. And as a coach, I don't think you'd want it any other way. You want to go somewhere where the expectations are high. But when the support matches those expectations from a community standpoint, incredible things are possible. And I don't think our wrestling program is anything but a reflection of all of that.
Now, mention some of those details. You said how many of the girls won the state title this year?
So we had two individual state champions this year. I can't remember what place they finished. It was in the top, I think it might have been fifth. But the first three girls state titles that we won, that two of them weren't sanctioned. And then won the first one when the Girls Athletic Union sanctioned it. So, just in this small time frame, they've had a ton of success. They've also got incredible numbers. We're anywhere from 20 to 30 girls in our wrestling program. Middle school this past year, I think, had 25 girls in 2 grades. So it's built from the ground up. I'm a girls basketball coach here, so I'm around a lot in the winter, and the amount of kids that, jog through and head up to the wrestling room starting at, young ages, that's their success. It starts with working with young kids and putting in a lot of time, but at the same time, those kids, those families, being willing to do that. And it's built, like I said, from the ground up because of time and effort and energy of our coaching staff, the kids involved, but our community as a whole.
Yeah, you mentioned it kind of briefly there that the role of youth sports and middle school level play kind of sets the foundation for what we see at the varsity level there at the school.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to take back, many years. I actually was the assistant girls basketball coach at Bellevue West,
Oh.
on the south side of Omaha there for 5 years with Matt Fritchie. And Matt is still one of my best friends, and was an incredible basketball coach. Went on to coach at Creighton for many years, moved out to Hillsdale Division II school, took them to the NCAA tournament. Comes back to Nebraska as an assistant principal athletic director at Grand Island Northwest, and has moved on to Gretna this next year. I can't remember which high school he took a job at, but he always told me, and we started a youth program. I shouldn't say we, he did, but I was on his staff when I started at Bellevue West. And he said, the best part about a youth program is it's probably not going to make your good years much better than what they were, because you already probably had families and parents who were involved at that level. But it's going to take those down years where maybe you didn't have families or parents who could take the lead, and do something on their own. It's going to elevate your down years. And it's going to make your entire program better, because you're going to have less of the ebb and flow, because you're going to have more consistency. It's going to bring that bottom up a lot higher. May not take your top up any higher, but it's going to bring that bottom up. And we talked about that for the 5 years that I was there with him, and he had incredible success. We won a state championship the last year I was there with an extremely talented group of kids. But then when I left, I saw how that consistency played a huge role in his program. I coached a team, one of our youth teams, and they were not any good. The team wasn't good. They didn't win a lot of games, but it wasn't about winning games at the youth level. It was about getting better. Two of those kids started 2 or 3 years later after I left on another state championship team for him. They didn't experience a lot of success as youth as far as wins and losses, but those kids stayed with it and kept getting better. And I think without the right structure in place, they don't even play high school basketball. But because they had that experience and they bought in and they wanted to be a part of it, they ended up being part of a state championship team, despite the fact that they didn't win a lot of games before they ever got to high school.
Nice. So do you feel with the wrestling program, because you guys, I didn't go back much further than 2000, but I think you guys started winning championships in 2005, if I remember correctly. I mean,
yep.
Did you have a good youth program for wrestling in place kind of starting right before that, or how did that kind of play through? And what other factors do you think kind of lead to the culture? So it's been almost 20 years now where you guys have been cranking out championships on the wrestling mat. Anything else contribute to that?
No, obviously you got to have a little luck, right? You need some talented kids. You need some great athletes. You need, good people to work with. But certainly you have to have a foundation. And the foundation was built, with the start of Coach Caldwell coming here, doing a youth program, having great families who wanted to be involved. I mean, the Ballwig family, they had, kids wrestle at Iowa, and their dad was actively involved in the youth club. There's many other families that I could mention, but to go along with that, our wrestling club started the Super Pee Wee State Tournament that's held every year in Waterloo at Young Arena. And the Waverly-Shell Rock Wrestling Club still runs that tournament to this day. And it was about giving kids opportunities. But then that comes with that is their fundraising opportunities, and they're things that help fund the things that they want to do. If I took you upstairs and showed you our wrestling room, we're one of few schools in the state that I think have a girls wrestling room and a boys wrestling room. They have a garage door between the two of them. They go back and forth. They share space. They share ideas. And I just think that because of what was started with that foundation, and then to have some great kids come in, and then kids see those older kids and want to be like them, want to be a part of that, incredible things happen. And I think one of the unique things about the size of Waverly-Shell Rock, Waverly's a town of 10,000 people. Shell Rock's a town of 1,000, 1,200. My kids are in our school right now. I mean, I have one that graduated. I have twins that are juniors. I have a fifth grader. We've lived here for 18 years. When my kids were little, they wanted to be like the kids that they saw on the basketball court, on the track, at football games. They wanted to be like those kids, and they knew those families because of the small town feel and the community that we have. And I think it just kind of takes off on its own if you can build that type of culture in a community like this.
Absolutely. And you kind of mentioned that culture. While wrestling at the school gets a whole lot of attention, rightfully so, Waverly-Shell Rock, certainly not a one sport school. You guys have a whole lot of programs that have been extremely successful.
We do. I mean, like I said, our boys and girls basketball teams were both in the state championship game last year. Our girls soccer team currently ranked #1. Won a state title. I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 years ago now that they won a state title. They've won a couple of them. Our football team, has been in 17 or 18 playoff appearances in the last 25 years. 2 state championships back to when Dave Arns was here in 1990 and 92. I grew up 45 minutes from Waverly, in a small town, Fredericksburg. And we used to come watch Waverly-Shell Rock teams compete just because it was way bigger than what we were used to. And we wanted to see what that was like. And I remember watching those teams, playing the Dome in 1990 and 92. It's cool for me to have an opportunity to be a part of that now. But it's something that it's a community, I want to say expectation, to be competitive, but it's a value of the community, that it represents us in a positive way to have great athletic programs, and our community supports that in every way that they can.
Love that. How do you as athletic directors support success across all those different teams?
The most important thing I can do is build a schedule and get the heck out of the way. I'm really fortunate. I coached in the district. I still do. I was able to be fortunate enough to transition to the athletic director position. And, now, technically, I guess I supervise people that were my peers, but they're all fantastic in their own right. And we're just so lucky with the people that we have. And sometimes teams, they ebb and flow a little bit. Maybe you may win a state title. Maybe you're at the state tournament. And the next year you're a couple games over 500, and then you're back at the state, and people are wondering, well, what's going on? Why aren't we a little bit more consistent? That type of thing. I think the most important thing is I can sit down with any parents that has a kid in our athletic program, and I can proudly look at them and say, I really don't care how many games we win. I know that your kid is going to be a better person because they spent that last sports season with our coaches. And that's the difference maker. And that's what high school athletics are about. Absolutely, we want to win and be successful. But I take a lot of pride in the fact that I know that, when a parent conversation happens, that I can confidently say, we may not agree on everything, but I know that we have 2 goals, and we want to give kids great experiences. We want to help them be better people, and our coaches are doing that every day.
Oh, so outside, because you guys, for Iowa, you're a decent sized community, but you're still relatively small, especially when you get into, the bigger cities like Des Moines, Waterloo, and things like that. What do you think attributes to that pipeline? Because you see in a lot of public schools, especially in Iowa, and, in my opinion, there's ebbs and flows. Sometimes you'll get some good teams, you have some good people coming through. But it seems like you guys have had a really consistent, pipeline of talent coming through for basically the last 20 years. Outside of the youth programs, anything else that you attribute that to?
Well, I think Waverly is a community that people want to be. I think we have families that, choose to live here for the opportunities that they see for their kids. And I think sometimes it goes probably unnoticed, but some of our coaches in our programs are actually at their absolute best, maybe on the year that they just went over 500. But they maybe had that, that lull in talent, but they coached the heck out of their kids, and they maybe overachieved a little bit. But everybody wants to talk about when they're winning state titles or at the state tournament. But I think some of the best things have happened in those other situations where maybe they didn't experience as much success as people might be used to. And that's because we have really good coaches, community support. And I think one of the things that I can point to on that is our strength and conditioning coach, sports performance coach, and our boys basketball coach came up with an idea it'd be about 7 years ago, that we were kind of outgrowing our weight room. It was part of a new addition. It would have been 18 years ago. So we're, 11 years in. We're getting more kids into sports performance. we don't have the space to do that as well as we wanted to, or as efficiently as we wanted to. So they designed a building, and we started a fundraising campaign. And I say I really wasn't much of a part of it. I tried to help as much as I could, but they really spearheaded it. And 3 years later, we built a $1.2 million strength and conditioning facility. We call it the GPEC, the GoHawk Performance Enhancement Center. We've got 32 powerlift racks. We've got 40 yards of turf. And we have a place where we can take kids that have a passion and want to be good athletes and develop them. And I think that has made a gigantic difference. We're in about year 4 or 5 of that really taking effect, and seeing kind of like that youth program, right? It takes a few years to pay off. We're seeing the benefits of that. And it's not just in, physical abilities, but there's a mental edge that comes from the weight room, that sometimes I think is underestimated. And we're getting both of those, along with, our booster club supports us from a sports performance and athletic training standpoint, where we have 2 athletic trainers. And it seems like little things, but all of those things add up to sustain success, and gives our kids experiences and opportunities that I think put us at a level that not everybody can offer. And our kids want to be a part of it. And the more kids you have involved, the more chances you have to sort it out and figure out the right ones to be as successful as possible.
Absolutely. You kind of mentioned it there with the fundraising. Waverly is a town that shows up for its athletes, whether it's packing the gym or lining the streets after a state title. How important is that community support to sustaining the GoHawks success?
I think it's unmatched. I don't think you can measure it as well. I'm sure there's other communities out there that probably are very similar. And we could probably list off a handful of those. But it's hard to measure, right? There's no number. There's no way that you can really quantify it. But when you look at a community support, I look at a lot of different things. But I think it boils down to number one is like buy-in and expectations, right? You want a community that has expectations, but then people have to buy into what is necessary to meet those expectations. Another step of that is financial. I mean, you have to be able to do certain things financially in order to provide opportunities for kids. As I mentioned, our booster club, they write a $25,000 check every year to the school to help offset the cost for sports performance and athletic training. And that's a small portion of what they give back to the school. But that's one place where they know their money can go, sports performance and athletic training, and it could potentially impact every single athlete at Waverly-Shell Rock. They can give money directly to programs, and that's great, and it's good for those programs. But this is one area where every single kid has access to it. And on top of that, I think we're really fortunate. We have Wartburg College here in town. We have an incredible relationship with Wartburg College on many levels. We all have our own facilities, but we share as needed. Next year, we have a night where I need to host a middle school football game and a 9th grade game and a JV game. Those are all possible on our one stadium. We're playing 2 games at Wartburg College on a Monday night, and they're more than welcome to do that. They utilize our facilities for practices when their facilities are overwhelmed. I just contacted their athletic director. It's rained a lot here the last few days, and we have a soccer game tomorrow night. We play on grass. They have a turf field. They're more than willing to let us utilize their facility tomorrow night because it's best for our kids and it's best for our community. I think that goes a long ways because it takes all those people that are tied into Wartburg, whether they live in Waverly or not, but they see that connection and that community feel. It goes beyond just the people who live here and have kids in our program. The 2 schools work together a lot, and we have an incredible relationship, and we're super thankful for that. I think all of those things tie into, a lot of the success that we've had here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Not only do your students have an incredible weight and athletic area to prepare in, but they also get the access to the college program as well.
Yeah, we're super fortunate, and John Cochran, the athletic director there, is awesome, and helps us out any way we can, and we'll do the same for them. But their head coaches are super active. A lot of them have kids in our programs. and they want to help too. And we play all of our baseball games at Wartburg. And that's a long-standing agreement that we've had. And we run on their cross-country course. We host, state qualifying cross-country on Wartburg's cross-country course. That's our home course. That's what our kids call their home course. That's where they practice. So there's so many things that benefit us, that are, I don't want to say outside of our control, but, are things that we don't have any control over, but they're willing to share that with us. And it's a benefit for our community, for our kids, and for our coaches.
Great. So you've talked about youth programs, and you've talked about weight training and athletic training. I mean, what are some ideas that you guys are kicking around, or some different things that you've maybe seen at other schools that you guys are thinking about implementing to keep that edge, or even take you guys to the next level across your athletic programs? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I'm going to take a step back and go back to our sports performance a little bit, because something that we implemented as this started, we have sports performance physical education class. So all of our athletes, if they choose to, get their lifting, strength training, agility, plyo done as a PE class. And that's been a game changer just from a time standpoint. And this isn't new. There's a lot of schools out there who do it. But, I remember, my early days as a girls basketball coach here, we'd be at school during the day. Then maybe we had to have late practice. So we're at 5 o'clock or 5:15. Our kids come in at 4:15. We lift, then we have practice. Well, that means our practice now became a 3-hour commitment. That didn't include watching any film.
Yep.
Football is even a little bit worse than that, right? Like trying to get everything in their amount of days to prepare, but then also get your kids into the weight room. Having that integrated into our school calendar, into our school day, has been awesome. And I have twins that are juniors, and they're getting a PE credit, but they're doing all the things they would have done anyway. But it just would have been on a coach's time at a time that worked in their practice schedule, and now it's built into the school day. And I think that's probably the best thing that we've ever done here at Waverly-Shell Rock in the 18 years that I've been here, for the benefit of our athletes. We're really fortunate. We have great facilities. We certainly have incredible plans for things we would like to do on a facilities basis. But there's a process to that. We just built 2 brand new elementaries. And I think, all of those great facilities are reasons that we remodeled our 3rd one completely. So those are reasons that people want to be a part of Waverly-Shell Rock. They see facilities, they see great buildings, they see great teachers. Those are things that you want your kids to be a part of. And, we're in a situation facility-wise where I think we have the ability to make some incredible improvements in the future, maybe a little bit more circle back focused on athletics, because our community values that and our school board values that. So we have some ideas and some things that we're going to start to look at, but we had to take care of those other buildings first.
You kind of touched on it there with the bar already set really high. What's next for Waverly-Shell Rock Athletics? Any big goals, upcoming projects, or programs that you're especially excited about?
Well, we're currently doing some research on, we currently have a grass football surface, and we play our soccer games, as I mentioned, on grass at another facility here in Waverly. We're doing some research on the potential of switching over to turf and the ability to bring our soccer program back on campus. And I think that would be awesome for our kids. It would be awesome for our families. Our kids, I think, would think it was really cool to play in our stadium. It's 85 feet from the building. We get great attendance at soccer, but I think we would have even more students. They're finishing track practice and, hey, soccer game going on. Let's go watch. Rather than right now they got to drive across town. Now it's not that far, but it's a barrier, and it maybe prevents some kids from getting there. Same thing, our kids are driving over there for practice. I just think there's some things that we can offer our kids if we can do that right here on campus. Additionally, switching over to turf would allow us to potentially host, you talk about youth things, right? YSF football. They would play, we allow them one weekend a year where they can use our facility for their games on Sunday afternoons. You're talking about 5th and 6th graders. But if we had turf and they ever need to use it, by all means, have at it. But, there's a little bit of protection that's got to be done with our facilities when it's a grass facility, and we want to play all of our regular season games on there, our lower level games, and we want to hopefully host playoff games there. We got to make sure that we're taking care of our facility, and some of those concerns go away with turf. The other piece that would add, our baseball, softball teams could use it in the spring when they can't be out on the grass, whether it's playing catch or whether it's, just, the things that they're doing, in their open gyms that they could do outside. But they can't do it when grass is too soft or it's too muddy. And honestly, it's a bigger project than that. Our marching band would get great things from having turf because these kids march every morning. They start before school starts. They have marching band first hour, and they bring different pair of shoes because their feet are wet every day when they come in. They would have lines. They would be able to go out on this, out into the stadium where they're going to perform on Friday nights, and they would be able to reap some of those benefits from that. So it's a community thing. It's across the board for more than just athletics. Our physical education department, all of that would benefit. And it's something that we're looking into right now with the school board. Kind of got to figure out where does this fit in, and is it something that we really want to do, and does it benefit enough people for the financial cost to make sense and be good for Waverly-Shell Rock.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Greg, it is time for our rapid fire segment that we like to call Game Time Decisions. Quick questions, quick answers. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Practice or game day? What's more fun to watch?
Oh, game day is way more fun to watch.
Favorite Waverly-Shell Rock tradition?
Oh, boy. Our drum line after they perform at halftime of football games goes over in front of our student section on the track, and they just absolutely kill it, and our kids go crazy, and we have a great student section. So that's probably one of the coolest things I get excited to see.
That sounds amazing. If your athletic department had a Netflix documentary, what would it be called?
Oh, boy. I don't know. I think how to sustain success across the board.
Best place in town to celebrate a big win?
Boy, Joe's Nighthawk is a pretty awesome place. Joe's is legendary in Waverly and has supported Wartburg and Waverly-Shell Rock incredibly well. I think that without a doubt what Joe's done for our athletics, that's the place.
What's a superpower you wish you possessed during busy sports season?
Oh, man, if I had about 3 of me in the spring so I could be at soccer games and track meets and golf meets and tennis meets, because one of my favorite things is watching our kids compete, and I just can't be everywhere.
What is one thing that you hope every student athlete takes with them after graduation?
I hope when kids leave Waverly-Shell Rock, number one, I want them to realize how lucky they are, but truly our goal is that I hope that they can look back and say, man, what a great experience high school was.
And what's one sporting event in history that you wish you could have seen live?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. I played golf in college. I'm a golfer at heart. I don't know that I can pick one, but man, I'd really like to go to the Masters and get to walk around at Augusta someday.
This year would have been a good one to be at.
This would not have been a bad one by any means.
Well, Greg, this has been a fantastic conversation. Waverly-Shell Rock, clearly a place where excellence is the expectation and culture runs deep. Before we go, what is one piece of advice that you would give to young athletic directors or coaches that are looking to build a legacy like the GoHawks have?
I think the biggest thing is, find your values, build your foundation on it, and don't waver. Even if people don't always agree with it, if it's what's most important to you and you're going to build a culture around that, you have to be consistent and you have to stay there and do the things that, the things that are most important to you. You believe in them, stay with it. And, sometimes you got to weather the storm. But there's nothing more important than being true to yourself.
Love that. Greg, thank you again for joining us. We will definitely be watching to see what Waverly-Shell Rock does next. You have set that standard very high over there in Iowa. And that is going to wrap up another episode of Building a Champion. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow sports fans. Until next time, keep striving, keep leading, and keep building champions.